We're on a series of messages on decoding Daniel 9. So in this video, we're going to talk about Daniel's 70 weeks, okay? And we need to conclude that there's prophecies in the book of Jeremiah and prophecies in the book of, in the time of the Exodus that lead us to very significant understanding in the book of Daniel. Now, we showed you previously before how Jeremiah showed us the king of Babylon and King Zedekiah in 9/11, and how that was a trigger event and how jihad played. Now, the book of Ezekiel also gives us this king's timeline. We had another video where we explained that to you. And we also saw how La Palma, in the potential of a mega tsunami on Babylon, could fulfill the Babylon is fallen, stone cast into the sea in Jeremiah 51. Now, the two very important prophecies that the people missed out on, didn't realize in our last video, was Benjamin Netanyahu being taken out as prime minister and a sacrifice that wasn't, showing us the 9th day of the 4th month in the 11th year of Zedekiah captured. Okay, this is a very significant prophecy for us because this is the indication of the prophecy of Jeremiah timeline being fulfilled and corresponding with Daniel's weeks. Okay. Now let's retrace. So we get 1948, we add 62 years, we come to Esther chapter 1 verse 1, and the king sits upon the throne. Then we add 7 years, and we come to something called the Cyrus Decree. The Cyrus Decree would be after 70 years, and we told this and announced this in advance for something to happen. Now we have this Cyrus scroll and the Cyrus Decree. Now let's talk about this decree. Now, everything about Cyrus in his decree relates to Jerusalem, okay? And it relates to 70 years. As Haggai actually gives us the date of the commandment and the decree to restore and build Jerusalem. Thus says the Lord. Okay. Now let's go to verse 18. Consider now from this day upward from the 24th day of the 9th month. This is coming up in a few days, okay? From the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid. Consider it. So guys, what we're telling you is this. The 24th day of the 9th month is Cyrus's scroll, Cyrus's decree in our day. Yes, it happened historically. Now it's going to happen again. But what it does mean is this is a significant date for those preparing for the Lord's return. The 24th day of the 9th month is December 5th, per the Enoch calendar. It is the Enoch calendar you're looking at here. You see the 9 and the 24 circled, and underlined is December 5th. The next day is December 6th, and it is the first day of Hanukkah.
Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. It was 70 years ago that the United States under President Truman recognized the state of Israel. Ever since then, Israel has made its capital in the city of Jerusalem, the capital the Jewish people established in ancient times. I am also directing the State Department to begin preparation to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The United States remains deeply committed to helping facilitate a peace agreement that is acceptable to both sides.
So on that precise date, the Antichrist announced restoring to rebuild Jerusalem, exactly 70 years, as we had stated, and we add another year to confirm the covenant, okay? So then you add another year and you come to the peace deal. Okay, so these are a series of years that we follow through Daniel. We see when these prophecies be fulfilled perfectly. Now, keep in mind, once again, we announced this ahead of time to warn the people. Today is a very, very special day. It's the first day of the 11th month and the 40th year of the Exodus. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, when Moses goes to Mount Nebo and recites the Deuteronomy, the Torah, the second Torah, he does so, and then the children of Israel enter the promised land. And what it says, he does this Deuteronomy, this reciting of the second Torah in the 40th year. Now, the reason this day is significant is because this is the confirming of the covenant for 1 year. We know that's what it says in Daniel 9, verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant, meaning Messiah shall confirm the covenant 1 week. A week is a year. And this is appears to be the beginning of that week, the beginning of that year that would conclude on the first day of the 11th month. Confirming the covenant 1 year later would bring us to what? The peace deal. Okay, precisely the peace deal right on the first day of the 11th month after 1 year to confirm the covenant. So there you have the peace deal. You can see precisely these are prophecies to precise dates. Okay, so let's now count the weeks. So once we get the peace deal, we had counted years to get to the peace deal. Now we add weeks. You add 62 weeks from the peace deal. You come to Passover this year. Okay, from Passover, then you count an additional 7 weeks to the Feast of Weeks, also called Pentecost. Okay, so from the peace deal, 62 weeks, we come to Passover. From Passover, what you do is you count the Omer, okay, 50 days, you come to Pentecost. Okay, now the prophecy's not finished because Pentecost is the rest week, and then after Pentecost, we confirm the covenant another week. So the confirming of the covenant is a type of Yahweh coming down on Mount Sinai to confirm the covenant when he came down on the Mount Sinai for 1 week. He came down on the mountain in his glory for 7 days. Okay, now this is all recap. We have taught all this previously, but there is new information. You see, this is a fulfillment of 62, 7, and 1 years and 62, 7, and 1 weeks, leading to this time period, Pentecost, 1,335 days. But that is only in Daniel 9. Daniel 10 continues, okay, leading us to the woman is given 2 wings of a great eagle. And that's what we're going to explain. There are additional weeks that we must add that we find in Daniel chapter 10. Okay? Now, I know that's a lot, but we're going to go through charts and notes and explain all this to you. We'll have further videos to come as well. But this is what happened. The woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle. Here we are in Daniel chapter 9. In Daniel chapter 9 is where we saw the 70 weeks, the 62 weeks, and the rest week, which is here. You can see cease, rest, and the confirm the covenant for 1 week. Now, it says 70 weeks are determined, okay? But it's very significant when we look at the original language. Now, I'm just looking at a King James here, and I'm just showing you as an example of how you will never see these things if you just read a regular Bible translation. So, once we get to Daniel 10, as you can see here, it says in verse 2, "In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks." Okay? Now, these are 3 weeks, right? These are important. This will be a continuation of the prophecy. But watch what it says, verse 3. "I ate no pleasant bread, and it came to my flesh nor wine to my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled." Now, what you can't see here is you have to go to the original Hebrew, and what you'll see is, you see the word full? That word is days. So what it really says, it says 3 days, weeks. All right, so that will be 3 weeks and 3 days. The same thing happens here in verse 3. Until 3 whole, but in Hebrew this is days, yamim, okay, weeks. All right, so again, you have 3.5 weeks and 3.5 weeks. Now let's look at our notes. I'm going to do something different here, guys, where I'm going to provide you all the notes for the series of videos that are coming up in the future. So what you can do is you can read them, you can study ahead, and so then once we get to the videos, you'll be somewhat familiar with the content, okay? So I will have those notes available by the time you watch this video. So you can print them off, you can look at the PDF, you can have it available as you watch each of the videos as we go along. Now, this page I'm going to have as my first page in this series. And what you can see here is the application of the additional 3.5 weeks. Okay, so we saw the 3.5 weeks in Daniel chapter 10, verse 2, and we saw another 3.5 weeks in Daniel chapter 10, verse 3. Now, we would always need multiple witnesses. So if these 3.5 weeks are applied, they must fall in particular timing that must be significant to something. Okay? So, in this chart, we hope to make sense for you the prophecies in Daniel and Daniel's weeks as they relate to Jeremiah. Now, when Daniel is praying, guys, in Daniel 9, there was 4 fasts during the year, one in the 4th month, one in the 5th month, and one in the 10th month. So it's quite possible Daniel was doing one of those fasts. Now, those fasts came from months that were in Jeremiah chapter 52. One of them you see here, the 10th month. So Jeremiah 52 begins with the siege around Jerusalem, okay, in the 10th day of the 10th month. That was the 9th year of Zedekiah. So for us, in our modern fulfillment, this was coronavirus. And we had a solar eclipse. You'll see eclipses marking this time. All right. So that was our kind of beginning of this Jeremiah timeline corresponding to Daniel's timeline. Okay. So then what we had is just a month later, we had less than a month later, just a few weeks later, we had the peace deal. That was the first day of the 11th month, as we explained earlier. That would have been January 2020. And January 10th, there was a partial lunar eclipse. So we had arrived by that by counting the years, right? But then from the peace deal, this is the commandment to begin counting weeks. All right, so then you count 62 weeks, you get to Passover and first fruits. Then you count the Omer. Counting the Omer is 7 weeks or 50 days, and 50 days is Penta. Penta means 50. Host is feast in Greek. All right, so we count the Omer, those 7 weeks, you get to Pentecost. It's a week, it's a rest week. Then after that, you have confirmed the covenant on Mount Sinai, 1 week, 15th day of the 3rd month. Keep in mind, there was also a full blood moon on Pentecost. Okay, another eclipse marking the time. And then we come to the conclusion of that week that we talked to you about. Okay, we come to something called the King's Decree in Esther chapter 8. So the scribes were assembled on the 23rd day of the 3rd month. So this is the concluding of that week when Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai. The children of Israel had to prepare a few days, okay, their garments. All right, so he didn't come on the 15th. He came after they had prepared their garments, 2 days. He was up there 7 days, concluding with these 7, the 23rd day of the 3rd month here. Okay, so once you get to that date, we have in Esther, that date we found from the Exodus. Then we add another 3.5 weeks that we saw in Daniel 10 that we explained to you. Now, when we add those, our witness is this will come on the 16th day of the 4th month. Now, this is extraordinary because this is falling very closely in our timeline with the 4th day of the 9th day of the 4th month. Okay, and that's when the famine was in the land. Okay, so the famine was in the land, the daily sacrifice was taken. Okay, and Zedekiah fled. So when Zedekiah fled, he fled before this date, and that's what happened. Netanyahu was our prophecy fulfilled, showing us Zedekiah. Once we knew Zedekiah, then we can prove all of Jeremiah. Amazing. So then what happened is that brought us to that significant date. And quite often what they would do, they would be in fasting and praying from that 4th month into the 5th month. Now the 5th month is the 9th of Av, okay? But in our Daniel timeline, it was actually the 12th day of the 5th month, okay? So not precisely, but you can see these are falling in close proximity. So this is when there was a famine, and after that the temple was burned and the city was burned. Now that was burned and destroyed between the 7th day and the 10th day of the 5th month. We know that to be the time period of the 9th of Av, okay? So the 9th of Av happened then. Now what we're suggesting to you is that at the conclusion of this, would be the point by which the woman is given 2 wings of a great eagle in Revelation. Okay, so in Revelation 12, when she's given 2 wings of a great eagle, that would be the conclusion of these weeks. Because you can see what we did. We had 7 weeks, and that's the eagle's wing. You can see I even drew a wing there. And then we have an additional 7 weeks. Okay, here. So this would come to giving the wings of an eagle. Well, now we'll have to focus a whole video just on what that means. Okay, we will get to that, guys. But this is what we're talking about. So what the Jews were doing is they were always fasting and praying on the 10th month, on the 4th month, which you see here, and then on the 5th month. So Daniel was probably doing that fast, one of those fasts. It was one of those times. So he's praying Jeremiah. He's praying the Torah. So what do we learn? We learn that it's actually 77 weeks. Okay, 70 weeks are determined for your people, but we learn that there's another 7 weeks. Okay, those 7 weeks were fulfilled when Netanyahu was taken out as prime minister, exactly the time Zedekiah fled. Not only that, during this time, historically, the daily sacrifice was taken, and the daily sacrifice was taken when the Jews could not sacrifice a lamb, a sheep, on this day. Not only that, they were commemorating this date. You can see this is the 16th day of the 4th month. They were the 17th day. So that was giving us, guys, a modern fulfillment. 2 witnesses, Netanyahu out, and they're commemorating the daily sacrifice, 17th day of the 4th month. Okay, that's the 2 prophecies that happened that the people didn't realize. Guys, the Bible is not an apocalypse movie. You have to know what the scriptures say. That's what we do in this channel over and over. And you can see that we are living in a movie within the words of the prophecy, and within the symbolism in the prophecy, within the dates of the prophecy. Okay? So let's take an overview and look at what happened in the midst of the king's timeline. So in this graphic, what we've done is we've applied King Zedekiah in his 9th year, his 10th year, okay, prophecy. So that's here, all right, and then we applied the 9th day of the 4th month here, 10th day of the 5th month here. So this is the 11th year of Zedekiah. So what we saw happen is we saw the Cyrus decree precisely on the 24th day of the 9th month. We saw the daily sacrifice taken away. We saw the peace deal, okay. We saw the mark of the beast. Okay, we saw the 1,335 days. Now, next up, we have the abomination that makes desolate, okay, to give the sanctuary. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Like I said in that video, we're watching for this in a few weeks. Now, we're doing all this based on something called Daniel's timeline, which you can see here. I'm not going to explain that, guys, now. I have lots of other videos on that. But basically, you can see that with these dates and these times, you can see eclipses that are taking place. Okay, these eclipses are marking these prophetic moments in prophecy in time. Okay, so the significant one that we had is Zedekiah, the 9th year of Zedekiah. Okay, that's our 9th year of the king's timeline, or 2019. Okay. So Cyrus' decree was 2017, all right? And then those years are the years of Cyrus, also Darius. Okay, so what have we learned? We've learned that in the counting of the weeks, the 1,335 days, we had to count another 7 weeks, bringing us to the critical 9th of Av, okay? And not only that, the sign of the woman given 2 wings of a great eagle. So guys, I will have the notes available to you. I will also have the links to the previous videos if you haven't watched them. It'd be really good for you to go over this a few times. It's a lot of information in a short video, but this is what the prophecy says about the times. the people and the masses of people and the wicked and the sinners, they cannot perceive these things. All they say is, troll, no, it's not, no, it's not. Yes, it is. You can see in this video, you can see prophecy being fulfilled that would happen in the tribulation. So guys, fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. This is the hour, the prophecy's at hand. So worship him that made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the fountains of waters. Amen.